welcome to the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday the 14th of March 2022. Nothing has gone wrong. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter Burns.
Everything true so far, everything true.
And award-winning Call of Duty League commentator and international man of mystery, Miles Russ.
Also true.
Also true. Miles, thank you very much for joining us today. And can I say, the fancy camo, which is lost entirely on the podcast listeners, but that jacket is phenomenal.
I'll have to link you the deets afterwards, but I unlocked this for casting 200 games of Call of Duty. This was my unlock.
Really?
Sick. It's a deep cut for the COD fans, you know.
Let's talk about like gun skin shit.
I know, but
my partner and I today, we were dressed. We both looked like some form of like weapon camouflage today.
I was going to say,
completely unintentional.
Do not tell me Pole has that same jacket.
Amazing.
No.
What a coincidence.
I'm a huge fan of buying the same clothes as her and wearing them in public. She does not think this is cool. I do.
Well, I thought I totally believed you with the unlock thing because Blizzard do that with their 1 year working here, 5 year working here thing. So I thought maybe Call of Duty League does the same sort of thing. I'm too.
That sounds like it would take a lot of organizational skills that we definitely don't have at the moment. We're spinning plates right now, mate.
That's so true. Oh my God.
There's a lot going on. It's a tough thing to handle. But yeah, I think at Blizzard for some years you get, your 2 years you get like a mug or a kind of a stein. And after a while, you get a bloody sword and a shield. And at some point, I think you get like a gigantic maul, like a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely can't take any of those on airplanes.
No.
They look very real, very real.
I think that's actually the play, is that they are like, let's give them something so large that they cannot leave with it. So they're stuck here forever.
Yeah.
We should implement something like that for our company.
Yeah, but we would do something that would just
It'd just be body pillows.
It'd be body pillows or a clock. You fucking suck.
Fucking clock, Gus. God damn it.
Gus would be like, oh, I made us a nice 5-year clock.
And this is your 1 year clock, and this is your 2 year clock. But I've already got a clock. It's only a year old.
Yeah. Here's your 45-month clock.
Totally.
Just random clock month now.
Good. Okay. Well, this feels like a good start to the show. Miles, for those watching who don't know who you are, and I imagine it's not a huge amount of people because if you're a fan of our community, inherently you're a fan of you. But, there could be some freaks out there. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
I'm currently a commentator for the Call of Duty League. I have been doing that now full-time for since its inception in 2019. Remember that? The old world. Before that, video game commentator, did all sorts of games, everything from Halo to Overwatch and FIFA even, and actually worked alongside you beautiful bastards and Steph, if you're not here, on screenplay, which was amazing fun, and truly, we kind of knew the writing was on the wall when you came to work every day, and I was like, this is way too fun, it's not going to last. It's way too fun.
Yeah.
Way too fun.
KFC are never going to come on board this show.
No, that's not our bloody fault. We did everything we could.
Despite what we were told. Okay, good. And what are you playing? What are you playing at the moment besides Call of Duty?
Well, obviously I have to play Call of Duty Vanguard. There is a gun to my head, and I've got to get that done. But apart from that, I've been playing Sifu quite religiously. I just finished it. I got the real ending. No spoilers, but there's a real ending, and let me tell you, friends,
you spared everyone.
No one died. Not a single soul. I murdered my way towards those bosses, like sweet child of mine. But it was. I'm really enjoying that. I've just got Elden Ring in the mail because complicated reasons. I've just got that, so I can't wait to sink my teeth into that. Nice. But that's pretty much it at the moment. I've been enjoying a little bit of Halo Infinite because I am a addict. But apart from that, that's it, guys. And still same old Miles. Doesn't play many games. Plays 2, 3, a lot.
Yeah, but it's quality over quantity. Elden Ring. Sifu, Pete's favorite game of 2022.
No, Halo is my favorite game of 2022 and 2021. We should play together, Miles, and I'll just play on fucking 200 ping because that's what I do anyway.
I was going to say, you're probably getting that quite a lot. But yeah, there we go. Let's do that, mate. Absolutely. Can't wait for co-op campaign on that.
I know. Yeah.
Delayed again. 2024 is going to be a great year. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Oh, yeah, true.
So I confused the kid in the shouting out Miles is a Halo fan. I was not sure if being facetious, but We have on our show right now a former Halo pro, one of the top Halo players in the world.
Mm-hmm. No, that's definitely not true.
On our show.
You guys would, everything was true up until that moment. But God
no, he's
bless
talking
you
about
both.
me. He's talking about me.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Wraith? Was that it?
Yeah,
Wrath,
it was.
mate.
Wrath.
Yeah.
Enough about this shit. Jeez, I've tried to move on. It's been decades.
You'll always be the
All right.
wrath to me, baby.
Good. All right, let's move on with the show. But before we do, we can't move on without having a sweet, sweet sip of coffee, because today's back podcast is, of course, as always this month, powered by Pixel Beans Coffee. Cheers, who've come on board the show all month. You get your back podcast fix once a week, but you can get your coffee fix every day with Pixel Beans. Not only are Pixel Beans the nerdiest coffee roasters in Australia, but they're running a competition because they know that PlayStation don't want you to buy a PlayStation. They hide them all like some sort of reverse Santa, and never want you to actually get your hands on one of their consoles. But Pixel Beans have figured out where one was. They got it, and now they want to give it away. So for every 250 grams of beans purchased from Pixel Beans, customers will get one entry into the competition to win a PlayStation 5, which only like 7 people have. Head to pixelbeanscoffee.com.au, use the code BACKPOCKET when you check out to get 20% off your purchase. And for every 250 grams of coffee you buy, you get an entry into that competition. You buy a kilo of coffee, you can't win 4 PlayStations, but you can win 1 PlayStation 4 times. Look, Pixel Beans didn't tell me to say that.
I think they would retract that statement.
I think they would. But you definitely get 4 entries into the competition. The competition is being drawn at the end of the month. Thank you very much, Pixel Beans, for getting us out of the bed in the morning and for getting this show started right. Speaking of starting this show, let's get on with it, because, Pete, the news isn't going to break itself. I say that every month, but the news, broke itself up to a week ago, and we're just recapping
we
the
did
news.
no breaking.
Yeah. But we'll take the credit. The backup is presented by one of our top stitch patrons, the best evil person we know, the child that coughed on my child last week at music class and infected my entire house. Thanks, kid. Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat, because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup, and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students at schools across the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. There's a link in Nightbot right now. Head to tasteofmultifish.com for more about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. My favorite word to say. Let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week, as voted on by us, the host of the Backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. Miles, you haven't done enough talking today. Please start us off with what made you back up this week and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
Well, it all started, Nick, a few days ago, where I tweeted, "Core blimey." Not exactly this, but I said, I would love is a new Gundam game. And I shit you not, my darlings.
Yep.
I shit you not. Literally. Maybe 5 hours later, we got 2. One of them we're not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about that one. But Sony, they held a state of play last week to show off some of their upcoming titles, predominantly from their Japanese studios. And I'm not even joking. It's basically Overwatch. Right?
Yeah. The footage is Overwatch. I was like, this is Overwatch.
Wait, bloody reskinned Overwatch in all your favourite Gundams. And I know you've got a favourite Gundam. All the chat, everyone's got a favourite Gundam. It's hard not to have one.
I love Harold.
Harold the Gundam.
Yeah. It's a Gundam shaped like a giraffe that talks to you about STDs. Miles, I am ashamed, because a lot of the time when people talk about Gundam, I nod and smile. I don't actually know what Gundam is. I know it's mechs, but that's it. Can you explain what a Gundam is?
A Gundam is a big robot, and it's a portmanteau of like gun and goddamn, That's partly true, but it's a Japanese anime series from many moons ago. I think if the first one was like late 70s, maybe something like that, way back when, and it's basically a story of a young boy forced into a horrifying war, fighting for his life inside this gigantic robot, and it's good fun. But it's quite dated now. There's been a million spin-offs, but it has helped sort of create this mecha genre, which, even if you like Attack on Titan, that's basically mecha genre. But instead of robots, gigantic sort of
fleshy robots.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been really fun. But that's basically Gundam in a nutshell.
Yeah, cool.
you did tweet out that you wanted a new Gundam game. Is this the kind of Gundam game you were looking for?
I think so. I quite liked the first Gundam game I played as a wee boy was called Federation versus Xeon on the PlayStation 2, and it was like a third-person sort of like Armored Core light kind of game. It was really fun. It had all these, it had all the sound effects of the show, which I watched as a little boy as well, and it really did sort of like scratch that itch of this kind of like arcadey style third-person shooter, which was great fun. And you could play split screen and tons of characters, loads of options, really, really enjoyable. Good soundtrack, fun gameplay, blah, blah, blah. This is basically Overwatch, though, and my worry with this kind of game, based on what we're seeing already, is like, Overwatch was made by Blizzard, a massive multi-billion-dollar company with like the support of Activision at the time, who helped make Black Ops 4. So we're talking about like a really polished, well put together, reasonably well balanced shooting game. This shit is not going to be that. I'm saying it now. This is going to be a mess. I'm just looking at it and I'm watching people fly. There's tiny little airplanes. Oh, I mean, there's a million characters. This is going to be a chaotic experience. It's not going to be very well balanced. I'm saying it now. Will it be fun? Oh, God, yeah. It is definitely going to be an enjoyable gaming experience. But I do worry a little bit in general because those games are so hard to balance. If you've ever played Overwatch, it's going to be a pain in the ass. This is not going to be like that. It will look the same, but I think it's going to be a clunky, quite messy experience. But we'll see.
And if you're going to release a game that is like clearly violating some IP law, may as well strike now while Activision Blizzard's lawyers are very, very busy.
Extremely busy.
Totally, yeah.
Extremely busy. Yeah.
Let the Gundam game go.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's why, because I'll be talking about it a bit later, but we got the confirmation of Overwatch 2. They saw the Gundam trailer, like an early beta for Overwatch 2. They saw the Gundam trailer, they're like, shit, this thing's going to eat our breakfast.
I mean, maybe in the Japanese market for sure, because even out there now, those games are still extremely popular. There's a lot of arcade games in Japan. Anything Gundam theme is like, it feels like a kind of national treasure. So it's going to slap in Japan. Will it do very well here? I don't think any of the Gundam games have ever done very well in the Western market, but we will see, because it looks a bit of an Overwatch clone, and that's going to tickle someone's pickle.
Yeah, for sure.
Pete, there was a lot announced at the PlayStation State of Play, and as Miles said, a lot of it was from Japanese studios. What tickled your pickle? Was it Gundam, or was it something else?
No, I mean, this I just looked at and was like, how did they just make Overwatch? But I was impressed by like they opened with Exoprimal, which is like basically a dinosaur wave mode game. So I'm sure Gus will like this. Like, I don't know. Capcom makes some of the best games in the world and some of the worst games in the world. They're an incredible publishing house and development studio. So I think this is going to fall on the bad side of the games.
Yep.
But Street Fighter's coming also. So let's see what happens.
I did see so many people going, like, before the State of Play announced, being like, I really want a new Dino Crisis. Show me a new Dino Crisis. And then I saw dinosaurs fall from the sky. I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. And then it really wasn't happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this will still satisfy people who are into, like, Dino Crisis and stuff, but it's just because they get to shoot at dinosaurs. But it doesn't really look like much of a... It looks like a tech demo, really. It looks like they've turned dinosaurs into particle effects, and they're like, oh, let's make a video game around that. It's like we made the dust actually just the 3D model of a velociraptor. So, so fight that.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of this, we're going to get like a rating for our GPU.
Totally.
You're definitely right there.
Yeah.
That's what it feels.
70 frames a second.
Yeah, B+. I was thinking about Turok recently as well, while we're sort of down this strange memory lane trip. This is not comparable whatsoever, but it does look quite fun.
Yeah.
It was an interesting State of Play. I mean, they come out beforehand and said it was mainly going to be games from the Japanese studio, from the studios. But also, there's lots of games from the Japanese studios that, like Final Fantasy 16 was something that could have been there. We could have got the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Could have seen some Street Fighter.
Definitely happening. Could have seen some Street Fighter. There's lots that could have happened. This felt like... to me, it felt like they put on the show for third-party publishers. It was basically going like, hey, you don't need to go to Game Pass. We'll also publish games as well. Like it really felt like they were talking not necessarily to a Western market, which is fine. Like obviously you could talk to whichever market you want, but I guess they did say late it was coming, so the expectation maybe shouldn't have been that big that something huge was going to drop. There wasn't a lot of warning. There was not a lot in this one that really spoke to me that we didn't already know about. I'm really excited for Ghostwire Tokyo, and I think that looks awesome. We saw a little bit more of that in here, and that looks good. And what we're seeing now, which is Trek to Yomi, which just looks... I mean, I almost don't even care how it plays. It looks so good. It looks so good. But I think it will play awesome. After Miles Like You, I went mad for Sifu, and this has that kind of feeling about that it's sword fighting, not brawling, but it does have that sort of like run through this thing, fast paced, difficult combat that you're sort of like working out the puzzle of this level. So I'm super excited for this one as well. And that, I think that was kind of all from this. I was surprised that Returnal's getting a huge update as well, I guess. I know it sold really well, but yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be releasing more content for that one.
This does look really cool.
Yeah, this looks
I just worry though that with Ghost of Tsushima, we've kind of been spoiled by like these beautiful samurai genre games, or like Warring States vibes for games, and I just worry that like the gameplay won't meet that, and that's my biggest concern, is that we're going to get suckered in by this gorgeous art style. It's really fun, kind of like old Japanese samurai movie vibe, and it's going to not play very well. That's my biggest concern here. But this does look amazing, Nick. I will play this.
I think out of all of the, because there's like you said, Ghost of Tsushima. There was I mean, it's not samurai. Or maybe there is a samurai in For Honor, but For Honor, there's been a few sword-based combat games. Absolver was another one. And none of them really hit the combat in the way that I like it to be. I think that the side-scrolling nature of this, it feels like it could nail it a bit better, because it is more like parry, da-da-da, and less like working with a 3D camera, moving around someone, missing sword slashes in like a 3D space and that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. It comes out pretty soon, so I'm excited for it. So yeah, that was the main thing for me coming out.
The thing about it for me is like, and I love that they do it in this trailer, is that they credit the performers, and I don't recognize any of the names, but I figured they would only do that if they're noteworthy, or they've put a lot of effort and energy into telling a story with strong performances. And if that's the angle that they're approaching this from, it's like, we've got a story we're telling here, then I'm excited for that reason, because I think it's beautiful and I think it will tell a story. And I think if the gameplay is average, that won't matter to me so much if I'm invested in the story that's being told, which hopefully I am. It doesn't look like the pinnacle of in video game storytelling, but it looks like they have a vision and they're going for it. So yeah, pretty cool.
Good story. Thinking like Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy gameplay was really mediocre, but the story and everything was great. So you were sucked 100%. In for hours and hours and hours.
100%. So that was the state of play, and a lot of that stuff is coming pretty soon. So if there's something there that tickles your pickle, to quote Miles Ross, then that was a good day for you, Pete.
Yes,
what story made you say, "Oh, this is a good day for me"?
I didn't say that so much, but seeing that Amazon is interested in making a God of War television series was an interesting one, because I'm like, why would you want to make a show with the least interesting characters in video games? Being Angry Man and Tiny Boy.
Tiny Boy. Just because he's small doesn't mean he's not interesting.
True.
He can grow into something. Kratos has zero character development left in him.
Yes.
I think the most amazing thing about this news story is the fact that I think it's Chris Pratt is confirmed to be Kratos. Is that right?
Good. And the boy.
Yeah.
And Tiny Boy.
He's Mike Myers in this whole thing.
He's playing Freya as well. I mean, he's very diverse. What a talent.
Yeah, look, obviously there's a lot of cultural love for Norse mythology at the moment, so much so that they moved a Greek god into the Norse mythology realms for their latest video game so that they could stay hip.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe it'll go to Greek mythology. Maybe we'll go back. Maybe we'll go back to some old school storytelling with a TV show if it got made. This is the first time that's occurred to me. But I think they were looking at the reception of the new reboot of God of War and going, let's make this a television series. Is my understanding. So I don't know that we need it. Even more so than a Last of Us, which already has a strong story, well told. I think this has a interesting gameplay and a journey, sure, but it doesn't. There's not much more in it. I guess that leaves room for creatives to come in and force a story into these characters. So, are you guys excited about this at all?
That's my thing, because I think that Kratos is a character. Definitely had the most characterization in this game. There's still not a lot there. I hope they don't just tell this story. You could tell the story between the last game and the reboot. You could tell something before he has the boy, I suppose. But because he is a bit of a blank slate, there is the chance to put character in there, like story in there, that just is a good story, as opposed to following something that's already been prescribed. I think you're right that you're making a show that also speaks to the idea that people would come and play the game, so you're probably doing this version of Kratos. As opposed to... Thank you very much. As opposed to... the Kratos that we know from before. My biggest hesitation with this is just the scale in which this show will have to be. It's coming from the producers of The Expanse and Wheel of Time. Those are both quite big shows, but you're kind of working in the realm of gods, which means the realm of tons of CG. Like, the best thing about Game of Thrones was not the huge CG set pieces, it was the characters. We have a very blank character here, I guess, with the option to put a lot more in, but this just feels like one of those expensive shows that might be like, hey, we want to see someone hit something a lot. Like, I don't know, I want to hit something a lot in the video game. I don't necessarily want to watch the TV show of someone hitting something a lot all the time. What about you guys?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, the tactile experience of playing God of War is so nice, and the amount of time and love that went into like making sure that Leviathan axe just hit perfect. Never going to be able to translate that to a television show. And you're right, Kratos is not interesting enough. Even his like budding relationship with Atreus. Spoilers, they love each other by the end of the game. That's not compelling enough for me to watch a whole show about. And if you go all the way back and maybe you do tell the entire story of the God of War, it could be quite cool. But I think you're right. He's kind of a blank slate character. It's like the Master Chief, and I know this is sacrilege right now, but like the Halo TV series is wildly off canon of the game because there's not a whole lot of story that Big John has. He's meant to be he's meant to be the sort of faceless, voiceless character until recent games. I don't know if this is. I don't feel like we need a TV series that could do any better than this. I don't think it could. There's nothing more to tell about this story. This game was so great. The whole experience was so great, and it ain't getting better than that. same with The Last of Us. I don't think anyone's going to be able to top that experience. You're not nearly as emotionally invested watching something as you are playing it.
Yeah, and I think we've had this conversation before about how like the TV show isn't necessarily for us. It should be partly for us, but also about broadening the reach of a strong IP, which I totally get. But I look at The Last of Us and I hear that argument and I go, yeah, cool, because that's a story about humans living a very human story. And you can spin that world a million different ways and tell an interesting character story in there. Whereas this is mythology and it's so big that it's always the same, unless you're Neil Gaiman, who finds interesting ways to tell mythology in a modern kind of sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be the same beats and therefore not necessarily worth watching over Vikings, which was a great human show about Norse people who believe in Norse mythology, who are affected by it by their beliefs. So interesting choice.
And I guess the last thing is I wonder if there's any consideration of how much you add to the show that then. I guess this is being made by Amazon, so they just want to make the best show that they can. But I was sort of thinking, like, how much do you add all this character and all this whatever to Kratos, and then people go play the game and they're like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is so different to the thing that I was watching before. But there's probably not that consideration. They're just trying to make the best thing as possible. But we are getting a ton of stuff. Like Amazon alone are doing this, a Twisted Metal TV series, a Mass Effect TV series, and a Fallout TV series. HBO is doing The Last of Us. Netflix is doing Resident Evil and BioShock. Paramount is doing Halo. We've had the Uncharted film. The huge, and it's funny, like these are all such huge worlds that all of them are kind of like, wow, you're biting off a lot with this thing. Fallout as a TV show, Mass Effect as a TV show, yeah, Resident Evil as a TV show. Out of all of them, Resident Evil potentially could make, I think, the best one. Because
I hear Twisted Metal, and I'm like, that could make a cool show.
So what?
Yeah,
Is that
what the fuck is the Twisted Metal TV show?
It's Mad Max meets cars.
Yeah,
Mad Max is
clowns.
a car in Twisted Metal.
It's that show. That's the show.
Anthony Mackie is going to star, and he's the executive producer of Twisted Metal. Well, of all the franchises to dip into,
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not going to get the fucking Captain America 4 anytime soon, are we? If he's pissing around doing Twisted Metal, bloody hell! At what point, though, are we gonna culturally reach a time where we're like, yeah, the game's better. Yeah, the game's better. In the same way that when we refer to like a book adaptation to film, we're like, yeah, the book's better. Now we're all going to be like, yeah.
I mean, well, wasn't that most video game adaptations up until this point was the game was better?
Yeah.
I think which is it was like that was such a fucking low bar.
Yeah, I just can't wait to say like, the Elden Ring game was better than the film and the entire TV series. Can't wait. Cannot wait to say that.
Oh man, I'd watch the Elden Ring show as well. My God.
Fuck, it's the greatest game of all time. The final thing I'll say at this is that a couple of weeks ago, everyone's favorite person, except for mine, The Rock, came out and said that he was working on a big video game film or TV show, and there was some speculation of, is there a God of War thing in the works? Came out that there is. The other thing, so it could be The Rock could be in this. The other thing that could be is a Call of Duty something, because he hasn't confirmed anything off the back of this. But Miles, have you written a script for The Rock?
No, but I think he's playing either me or my skinny coworker Chance in the Call of Duty film adaptation.
I love the idea that the Call of Duty film adaptation is about Call of Duty esports. That would be such a wild twist. Yeah.
I just don't know how what the hell are you going to do with a Call of Duty film? Like, give it to Michael Bay. If anyone's going to make a film for teenage,
he's already making them.
Teenage, yeah. I just don't think we need a Call of Duty film. He would make a pretty good Kratos though, because he's bloody gigantic.
Michael Bay
and maybe he's quite tall now, and that hair's getting thin, Pete.
Yeah, it is getting thin. It is getting thin. Yeah, no, he wouldn't be bad casting, that's for sure. I don't
No. Which Call of Duty game do you make a film?
Hate the game, not the player, Nick. That's all I have to say about The Rock.
Because The Rock is totally. It's just stop. You don't need to be in everything. You don't need. Like, I literally. So in one day, I watched a trailer for a film with The Rock in it.
This is on you.
I booted up Fortnite. And he was in Fortnite, and then halfway through the day, I turned on the Super Bowl, and he's standing in the middle of the fucking field, announcing the beginning of the game. And I'm just like, he's everywhere. He's actually. I went upstairs, and he's in one of my kids' cots, just having a nap.
Jesus Christ, he's bloody everywhere.
I breastfed The Rock. Anyway.
Okay, can you imagine what his tax returns look like? Can you imagine?
Incredible. To your question, I do like the idea. Speaking of a Call of Duty film, of doing a Hunger Games style thing where it's like everyone is fighting, and then the reveal is that like we're following people in a game, and then there's the esports like layer on top of it where people are casting this thing, and so like you're emotionally attached to these people in the game, but actually it's all just for fun, and it's like, oh, these are our real lives, but actually we're in some sort of Hunger Games esport. There you go. That's the film.
Yeah, cool. It's the Call of Duty Warzone film.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, the Amazon. We should actually clarify as well with the Amazon show. They're in talks to turn this into a PlayStation franchise. They haven't actually confirmed a final signature on the IP deal. So we'll see if
they're going to screen this segment of our podcast in that meeting.
Yeah. And they're going to be like, this is why The Rock should be in, because he's in everything else. And we have to put him in this as well.
He was in a cut.
He was in a cut. He was breastfed by an Australian man. The final story coming from me, which I teased before, Overwatch 2, at the end of last week, we got an update from the Overwatch team, which feels like, I mean, that's something new that they've done, is update people about what they're doing. It's been a while since we heard about Overwatch 2, and we're not going to have to wait too much longer because there is a closed beta launching next month for the game that is going to include, well, we don't necessarily know, we do, the PvP beta, which is coming in late April. There's an alpha apparently running at the moment, but it is for like Blizzard employees and high-level Overwatch people. But the PvP beta, which is coming in late April, will be 5v5 games with the new hero Sojourn. There's going to be 4 new maps, the new mode, which is Push. There's going to be hero reworks to existing heroes and a new ping system. All of which sounds like could have just been an update to Overwatch as opposed to a new game. And it also will be that because, Miles, you probably know more about this than we do. That all of this is also coming to Overwatch, the original, the PvP stuff.
So what I think, and this is complete conjecture, I'm making this shit up right now. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's the game engine change, I think, is the primary bump. There's only so much you can do on an old game engine. Overwatch has been out for years and years now, and this is something that Call of Duty is kind of blessed with, and a lot of sort of like live service games are kind of dealing with, is when a game engine kind of gets old, you want to add more features. Eventually, you sort of just run out of the ability to do so without having to rework everything. So I think the Overwatch 2 game engine change will be the biggest one. But yeah, between PvE, obviously PvP, I think it should be great. The feeling I've got, sentiment I've got from folks who've already played it on the inside is that it's an amazing, it's quite a dramatic departure from Overwatch 1, and it's great. Right. Those people are obviously paid to say that shit. They're on the bloody payroll. But there's a game that has been out for a long time that has come under a tremendous amount of criticism for, like being a bit stale after a while and balance issues and whatnot. Sounds really good. I'm going into this with a very open mind. I personally haven't played it yet. I haven't signed up for the beta yet, but I'm going to ask someone I know. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to pull the old in. I'm going to pull a string or two and hopefully have a go on that. Because I think there is a genuine amount of excitement around this, and I think it's good for the Overwatch League as well, which is another sort of cousin of the COD League now, and everyone loves watching Shanghai Dragons, who are actually okay now and pretty good. I think they won something recently. Can you guys believe that? Do you remember back in the day? They didn't win. I
remember the Shanghai Dragons.
They've turned it around. Last year they won the whole thing. You imagine
good on them.
Bloody good on them. Bloody good.
Unbelievable.
Pete, the other thing that came out of this update is that they have decided to take the Halo Infinite route, and they are decoupling the PvP from the PvE. So we're going to get the closed beta for the PvP in April, and then presumably, not too long after that, you would think, we're going to get the release of the PvP mode, and then at a further, also undisclosed date, but I'm going to imagine not 2022. We're going to get the PvE, which is really what Overwatch 2 is, as opposed to a revamp of Overwatch 1. We spoke last week about how Halo has lost some momentum with a staggered release like this. Do you think this is a good move for Overwatch?
Look, it's probably okay in the Overwatch space as it exists at the moment because it's a known quantity. Obviously, Halo is a long-standing IP, but Halo Infinite was like a reinvigoration of the series, at least from a marketing perspective. And so the staggered release of that, I think, was fine. The problem with Halo Infinite's multiplayer has been the cadence of update and content when people are used to, Rainbow Six is a competitive shooter that is consistently releasing new content that is exciting for players, changes the way the game can be played, and keeps players excited about it. I think they will treat the PvE and the PvP quite separately for Overwatch, which I think is a good thing. I think they're probably intended for. There's going to be crossover, but I think they're intended for different audiences. Like Overwatch is a pretty sweaty game at its core. It can be played really casually and it works really casually, which is great. But it is designed to be like meta-based, really competitive game, which is the joy of it. And I think giving people a PvE option is a nice way for people to like enjoy the game feel, which is it's always been a great game feel without the pressure of that. And I think that's for people who aren't keen to be sweaty. And I think that's good. So I don't know that separating them is going to be a bad thing if they can market them to the separate audiences that they're trying to reach with these different products.
Yeah, I saw some people saying that it seemed like a good idea for Halo, and Halo is sort of dealing with a bit of a crisis of audience at the moment, whether or not that's actually true. But yeah, I agree. The difference with this one is that Overwatch is out. The base game is going to get this update stuff as well as the PvP, and it's already in a bit of a stale mode at the moment. So you're invigorating something that's already out, and it almost feels like Overwatch 2, the PvE stuff, is, like you said, so separate, so different to this thing. It is these sort of like running campaign stuff with friends that feels like almost an additional bonus, as opposed to Halo, where I really do think that like Halo could be considered either a single player game or both the single player game and the multiplayer are two halves of a whole, whereas it's almost like this Overwatch 2 stuff, the game started as multiplayer only, so I think it's still thought of as just a competitive multiplayer game. So this extra stuff is just a bonus that you're going to get. It doesn't really matter when you get it, but you're reinvigorating a community who are already like sitting there with the game installed, wanting new content. So
and giving people a different avenue to become engaged with Overwatch, and probably ultimately progress across to the PvP, where you play more consistently, you buy skins, you become part of the ecosystem of Overwatch through the campaign trajectory, which is just a clever way to get people in who wouldn't want to play a PvP game.
Yeah. And it is exciting because I really loved Overwatch. Yeah, sorry, Miles.
We had an amazing time, Nick, playing when the first sort of 2 or 3 PvE events took place in Overwatch. We played that one where it was like, you're like a tactical team, you pick your characters, and then you are sort of like challenged by this really potentially difficult little short like vignette almost.
Yep.
I'm really excited by the prospect of a broader campaign that still has that kind of like cooperative multiplayer element. Like that could be amazing, especially after a hard day grinding out multiplayer and you're sweating your head off. To be able to dive into something like that could be really cool, while still being challenging for the guys and gals who really, really want a difficult and rewarding multiplayer experience or co-op experience. I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And after being dark for so long, it's good that it's coming soon. Like 2 months, there's going to be a closed beta, and we're going to, you sort of keep the momentum going after that, hopefully. So it shouldn't be too long until we're playing Overwatch 2 in PvP, at least. Moving on to announcements and delays. We will need a bit longer to play Gotham Knights, but it is coming. It got pushed back from last year. Delayed to to sometime in 2022. Now we've got an announcement date for the release of Gotham Knights, which is coming out on the 25th of October 2022. And we got some delays as well last week. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp was supposed to be coming out on the Switch on the 8th of April. But they have decided to bump them because of world events and primarily what's going on with the Ukraine at the moment. They've decided that having a war game launch is probably not the best look for that, so they're going to update with a new release. The interesting thing about this is the original Advance Wars game got bumped because of the same reason. I can't remember which war it was, but it literally bumped the release date of the original one because they were like, yeah, we don't want to be associated with the news cycle right now. So yeah, just bad timing for Advance Wars all the way around. And we saw it in the State of Play for PlayStation, but Forspoken got a bump as well. It's been moved from May 24th to October 11th as well. So that's another October game coming out. Forspoken, yeah, that one... Very curious to see how that one turns out. Yeah. And then Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire has been cancelled on the Nintendo Switch. The publisher... I love the way that they announced this was the publisher Versus Evil announced plans to cancel the Switch version on their Discord. And they just posted a message that said, "Hey there!" exclamation mark. Unfortunately, after much deliberation, we've decided not to move forward with Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire for the Nintendo Switch. And it's like, that's fine. It's like, you're still putting it out on your other platforms, but just... anything that starts with like, "Hey there" as a message on your Discord, it's like, you weren't really invested in this in the first place. No one puts out a "Hey there" Discord message on something that was the backbone of their release schedule.
Yeah, that was a voicemail left and hung up really quickly. It's like, fuck, I got the message across. I don't need to talk to them anymore.
Totally. Okay, that is literally all the video game news that happened this week.